is Bree, the Dark Diva, and today, Whiskey Diva, because we're going to wrap up, at least for a little while, the last in our whiskey tasting series on the Irish whiskies. This is one I've had that I bought before St. Patrick's Day, and I just never got around to getting the tasting done with the video. So I wanted to do it today. And it was simple. Rather than trying to make a drink, I've been hard at it working on writing today, and rather just emerged. So I got a great time to do a little relaxation and a whiskey tasting video all in one. Nothing like doing that when you can. Today what we're talking about is Slane Irish whiskey. Now, this is kind of based a little bit more for popular appeal. Now, I bought it at Total Wine & More. It was $29.99. Again, depends on where you buy it. You know, there might vary a few dollars here or there. This is interesting because this is a relatively new brand. Now, they launched it in 2017. They actually started building the distillery in 2015, but they've been sourcing up to this point. And I think we're still into using the sourced whiskey, which they've aged, because the distillery, I think, is up and running because they're offering tours if you go on their website. But it hasn't apparently been open based on when the tastings were done. I was looking through a couple of prior tasting reviews, and they were talking about the history. And where it looks to be is they're probably, my guess now, is they're probably about a year away from being able to tap their own cask that they have actually distilled. They're owned by Brown-Forman, which is a U.S. company, and they're in the Boyne Valley in Ireland. What they've done with this is a little different. It's called triple cask maturation process. And what they've done, and as I understand based on the source, and again, where they got it's a little vague. We have some of the reviewers have a little suspicion after narrowing it down, but I'm not going to relay it because it was nothing but suspicion, can't prove it, so we won't be passing along anything we don't reasonably know for sure. It's a mixture of malt and grain whiskeys. Far as we know, they have been triple distilled. But the real secret for Slane, again, is in the maturation process. They take the whiskey, and the whiskey is blended, and then it's put in, each batch of the whiskey is put in a different barrel, or cask, if you will. They use virgin charred oak, American, which they get from Brown. They also use charred oak that has been used to age both Tennessee whiskey and bourbon, is what they say, which gives it some interesting flavors. Again, Tennessee whiskey being more like Jack Daniels versus something like Old Forester, which is bourbon. And again, that's where they're made, sort of issues here on the bourbon, and we're not going into the bourbon differentiations. We'll do that another time. What we're talking about here, though, is so they're using virgin oak, charred oak, then they're using the charred oak that's been used to age bourbon and or Tennessee whiskey. And third type of cask that they use are Oloroso sherry casks from Spain. And again, these are European oak that has been used to age sherry. So they bring the three types of casks in, and they fill them up, and then they let them age or mature. And then they blend them together after that. And that's how they create Slane. It has some interesting notes that it picks up. Now, they talk about on the website that you pick up from the virgin charred oak barrels. You'll get basically the toasted oak and vanilla flavors. You will pick up from the bourbon / Tennessee whiskey barrels. You will pick up plum and banana and a couple of other, they're the fruits in there. and a little bit of butterscotch, for example. So there's some interesting flavors in there. And then from the sherry cask, you'll get raisin and spice. Again, these are a lot of different notes. They all kind of hang around. They blend, and which ones you pick out at any one time may vary. And I find that, again, in the end, I look for how does it taste at the start and at the finish. Is it smooth all the way through? Do I get some nice complexity to it? Those are important things that I think that you may not consciously think about when you're drinking, but, is it smooth? Does it taste good? And that taste is all the way, does it come back later, and do you have an aftertaste? Because sometimes it can taste good going in and have a terrible aftertaste. Excuse me. My mind and my mouth never work at the same time, so it seems some days. I've spent some time with this, and I really have enjoyed it. I was, surprisingly for the price, it's very competitive in terms of taste with some slightly higher priced Irish whiskies. Again, it's not a Redbreast, it's not an Irishman, it's really not a single malt Bushmills. But it is good, and certainly for the price, I think it's something you owe it to yourself to try. Now, whether you buy a bottle and try it, or whether you find your favorite whiskey bar, and that happens to have it, that you can try it there. So anyway, let's get to the tasting. Okay. Now I get a bit of the vanilla and the banana right off the top. Banana is one of those that it's in some of the others, and I think one of them was the Irishman, I believe, if I remember correctly, when I was trying that. No, that was green apples. Powers, that's the one that had the banana, smell like a bit like banana bread. You try enough of these, they all kind of like, okay, how do I keep this one separate? I taste the tight. Okay, now is about mid-range in there. Now they're saying it's toward the end, but I'm saying it's more of a mid-range. I got the raisin and spice, and it's nice. Again, it's like a baking spice, something nice, warm, like spice bread, that type of thing. It's very good. It's different. It gives it a nice change of pace from some of the whiskeys. Again, there are layers that you go through, levels, and it makes it interesting. It's pleasant all the way down. It's actually very, very smooth. Again, especially for the price point. Because there are some that are in the same price that aren't really that smooth. Again, differentiation. As you know, I'm using the bigger rocks glass, which is good because it gives you a lot of room for for it to expand and let all the aroma out. This one I filled with a little bit more whiskey than usual. I needed it today. Just a splash of water, and I do mean a splash. Might have been 3 or 4 drops in it at the most. So again, that releases more of the flavor notes and just kind of activates it, if you will. At least my term for it. Very nice, very nice. Lots of different notes. It's a very pleasant. Again, it's a bit of a dessert. Again, we think about the fruit, the spice, the vanilla, and the toasted oak. It gives it a nice warmth to it. It's very tasty. I would highly recommend it. I'm glad I have it. I certainly have to add it to my regular considerations. And thanks to doing this series, I've definitely broadened my own perspective on Irish whiskey, so hopefully I've been able to share that with you. We will be picking up some more at some point. Right now I'm into starting spring cocktails, and we're testing some new drinks for that. We have something we'll come up with for Irish whiskey, I'm sure. I had a few things that we talked about. I'll probably be doing an Irish mule coming up soon, and we haven't figured out exactly what version of that I'm going to do. We'll figure that out. I want to thank you very much for tuning in. If you have questions or comments about this tasting or any of the tastings on the Whiskey Diva series or anything else that we're doing at the Dark Diva Rules. Please, my email address will be at the end. Credits, it's Miss Bree at thedarkdivarules.com. Or you may leave comments on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe. That'll make sure that you get to all the latest videos if you don't happen to catch when social media promos come out for it. But we're excited. I know I'm picking up a lot of Instagram followers. More and more people are joining in, so I invite you to join as a regular. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, as well as YouTube. And thank you for your support so far. We're having fun doing these. I enjoy it. Like I said, I'm on drinking. I don't drink on the job. Drinking is my job. I love my work. So thanks very much for tuning in. Have a great weekend. It's Friday evening here at the time I'm doing this. So I hope you have a great weekend. And we will be back again to see you soon. As always. Well, since we are doing the Irish, I will do Slane. Cheers.